Hello, everybody. Welcome today. My name is Austin Braham. I am the AI Evangelist here at Integral, and I am being joined by a solutions architect on our team, that is Vlad Garau, and he is going to be helping us actually set up an AI agent and kind of walk through it live to see what it is and see what it means to actually have an AI worker join your team. So Vlad, thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate your time. And I will first jump into our presentation today. What exactly, is the reason that companies are adopting AI in the first place? So first thing, reducing cost. There is a massive, massive opportunity right now in all of AI for businesses. Obviously, we've been hearing that everywhere. You have the idea of AI is going to be able to actually augment and automate so many different parts of a job to open up more opportunities for businesses in the most place. And of course, team members and employees to get more work done. And this allows companies and even just the individual employee the ability to be more competitive in the marketplace, because this is also opening up so many new products and services and just opportunities for the business to differentiate themselves even further. But then it comes also down to the idea of there are all these new AI mandates that are more or less coming out, where you're seeing all your competitors, you're seeing all the biggest movers in the systems and in the marketplace, all these different industries that are starting to adopt AI more and more and more, where it is now almost becoming of utmost importance for a business, or even just like I've said, down to the individual team member, to start implementing AI in their everyday life, because there's significant pressure coming from the market, but also coming from the leadership of a business to start to adopt and show the impact quickly. So we've obviously heard that everywhere. People are always seeing that being talked about. So now let's go down into kind of this idea of AI and agentic AI workers versus these legacy tools. So the objective that we're talking about today is the idea of automating real-time kind of lead enrichment. That's just going to be the example today, but of course that example can be extrapolated out to a ton of different ways. So the general idea is that people want to gather the data. They want to kind of research accounts. They want to personalize their outreach, maybe send voice notes via LinkedIn or something else, and then kind of log all that information into a CRM. And a lot of these legacy tools that we're seeing can do like parts of it. They'll have different more or less silos of different tools doing. We do specifically the voice notes. We do specifically the integration with the CRMs. And that is more or less the market that we have been, seeing in the most part. And all these, for the most part, legacy tools are all individually also going to have different monthly costs, different yearly costs. How many calls can you actually make? What is the data that it can actually look into and research? And for the most part, you're stuck using those specific tools and those specific data resources, and they can't interact with anyone else. It's like, hey, this is what we have, take it or leave it. And oftentimes you're stuck into those contracts with those legacy players for the most part. It's going to be like the people like Apollo. We have ZoomInfo, Clearbit. So there's a million. There's so many different kind of as we would call them, like data brokers. The idea of being able to enrich the data. So then we come down to the idea of an AI worker instead. So the AI workers have a completely different approach. The whole idea is to lower the tooling costs, because it's not just, completely seat-based. You can pass off the agent or the worker to other team members, things like that. And then you can, of course, have near perfect execution. Now, of course, I will throw out there near perfect, more or less also, because as more and more people are understanding with technology, I mean, our whole entire lives, there are times where you need to click refresh, the internet goes down, things like that. So near perfect execution and adherence to a process, though, that you are the person that chooses that process, which I know for a ton of businesses and a ton of business owners and leaders, and then just individuals, that's very important as you are in control, because you can actually, let's say, which we'll see with Vlad later, is the idea of you can connect to APIs through what's called our universal connector node. As long as there's an API, you can connect to it. You then want to have it create custom, bespoke, personalized emails. Okay, add that in, which we'll see all kind of the integration, and you'll start to see how the AI Studio is set up, that you can perfectly create and execute your own idea of an AI worker. Maybe I'll set it up some way. Vlad's going to set it up another way. You're going to set it up another way, which makes it completely unique and gives you the skill set from the foundation to start adding on. And of course, with this, there's no specific vendor lock-in, because, like I said, with the APIs, you can just access whatever has an API, which is super, super useful. And of course, the ultimate idea is that you can scale your pipeline and meetings with actually fewer SDRs, kind of a lower budget. And all of us are having to deal with that. Is that the idea of either you're dealing with it right now or you've dealt with it in the past, is that maybe you're understaffed, you don't have as much of a budget, and you're trying to get more work done with less. But with us and with Integrail, you're getting more work done with more by adding on more and more AI workers. So that's kind of what we see with AI versus these legacy tools. So now we get down into what is the evolution of this AI worker? What does that mean? So as you can see, first off, we have AI chatbots. This is going to be your traditional chatbot that all started, for the most part, with ChatGPT a couple of years ago. And we're still seeing companies right now, so basically 3 years later, just now implementing these chatbots. I get messages all the time. It's, hey, Austin, so super cool. We have an AI chatbot at work now. Okay, great. But then we have another level up, which is going to be AI agents. So this is the next generation of AI. This is where you're hearing people talking about agentic AI, because you have these AI systems that are, semi-autonomous, and they can actually do tasks for you. So I always love bringing up our CEO, Peter Guigenti, kind of talked about how in previous live streams, actually, these are the true use cases, the true use of AI kind of comes through AI agents and agentic AI, because they will do real work for you. So I can set it up these workflows, and then it will do tasks for me, which then goes to the next level on top of that, which is AI workers. And that's what we're talking about all of the time, is AI workers are going to be the idea of a multi-agent system. So whereas an AI agent, for the most part, was task-based. So like for today, a lead enrichment agent would be an agent that is only going to do necessarily one part of that task, whereas maybe a bigger enrichment worker would be implementing multiple parts of this actual workflow. So, which we'll see right here, is that here's some examples. Company chatbot, we already went over that. We all know what that is. Everyone probably has their own. Then we have the idea of a lead enrichment agent, which is going to be that AI agent. And then an AI worker might be, okay, we have the lead enrichment agent plus an outreach agent plus a follow-up agent, and then whatever else you want to add on. That would be the idea of it is now coming together to basically be a part of your team. And not only a part of your team, probably the employee of the month for your team, because of the time saved, the amount of work that it can do, and the amount of headaches that it can get rid of. Because honestly, that's what we're all trying to mitigate, of course. And then here's just some examples. So we went over the enrichment agent. That's an idea. And then we have maybe a research agent. Those two together will become the enrichment and research worker. Okay, cool. That makes sense. You can see some of the different tasks that it's actually doing. And then we have the prospecting AI worker. Same thing goes there, kind of going through the different tasks that it could be. And then we have maybe our voice note AI worker that's doing a few different other tasks. And then a multi-threading AI worker, bringing in more and more functionality. Those are just some examples. We're not going to dive too deep into the idea of this, but all of these represent a few different things, and they go across more or less all of this. Time savings, which for the most part, and for most of us, the old adage is still true. Time is money. So there's going to be cost savings associated with this as well, on top of the idea of you're not paying for these really expensive legacy AI systems. So both the idea of your cost savings because faster time to market, things like that, less time you're actually spending on these more or less mundane tasks. But then we have things like creating enrichment workflows, company and contact research, and every single subsequent worker here, which we'll see, can save you more and more and more time. So this is something that I like to talk about, like compound interest. So we've all, heard Warren Buffett. We've all heard all these investors talk about the idea of compound interest in the market. Same kind of idea goes for compounding AI workers. So we'll start off with the lead enrichment worker here. And if I implement that into my business, as you can see, on both of these axes, we have the first one being, time savings, general ROI that you're looking for in your whole business. If you have one worker, cool, you have a great ROI just on that one worker. But then as you continuously add on workers, it gets better and better and better and better and better and better. And it literally would just start to compound, because also on top of all this, you're just learning. You're learning how to think about becoming more or less an AI first company or an AI first employee. And you're thinking about how this will affect you in every aspect of your life. Oh man, lead enrichment worked really, really well. Let me think about this. What other parts of my business can I add this to? So as you bring on more and more AI workers, things get better and better. But then we come to the idea of who is integral? What can we do? So as we've all learned probably in elementary school, is that with an iceberg, there's only about 10% of the iceberg that you see. 90% is below the water. Same kind of idea comes down to when you're building AI agents. Oh my goodness. Go onto YouTube right now. And besides my YouTube videos, of course, type in, how do I build an AI worker or an AI agent? And what you're going to see is a bunch of videos about, okay, hey, I need you to go over and, create an account for Cursor, or just, learn Python, go learn to code. Oh, but then also learn how to integrate all these, MCP, servers or API integrations, and then also learn about RAG, and then learn about, how to authenticate all this. There's so much that goes into building AI agents if you're doing it, maybe let's call it from now the old-fashioned way. Whereas with Integral, we take care of all that hard work under the surface, so that at the top, what you see is an easy drag and drop system to build an AI agent and ultimately an AI worker. So we take care of all that technical complexity. Now, one thing that is super important to kind of go through is the idea of there is no engineering required for this. So a big aspect of this is a no code or low code solution. Plenty of developers come on, talk to me, and they enjoy being able to pretty much have the same functionality, but they don't need to code, but they can code if they want. But for the most part, it is not required for you to actually build an AI agent. So you don't need to know the coding, you don't need to know the modeling and the engineering. It's all pretty much natural language processing, normal English that you can just put these LLMs together with these APIs and these different calls and these different nodes, and we can have AI that's tailored to your business very specifically. So just as we went through earlier, You can connect to legacy APIs. You can connect to new APIs. As long as there's an API, you can connect to it. And that you can actually build, let's say for me, let's just use me as an example. I am inundated and live on the internet with social media and creating content all the time. And the way that I do so is probably a little different than a lot of people. I have tailored super specific agents to become workers for me to help me with creating my LinkedIn posts, my YouTube descriptions, scripts for my videos. And if you do the same thing, I guarantee you it's probably going to be slightly different than what I do. I have a different way that I like it to sound. Obviously there's more that can go into it per person, but then you can tailor it however you want. So very, very cool. It's not just like off the shelf. Hey, here are the agents that we have. Take it or leave it. You're stuck. Okay. So you can build it however you would like. And then we have the idea of this expertise that is built in. And you want to know why? Is because you have people like Vlad and I. You have people on our team that can actually help you through this whole process, which goes into kind of some of our different offerings that we give and we offer to customers. Is the idea of we have discovery workshops, which is when we come in and we actually help you identify some of those pain points. We brainstorm about them. We create a simple kind of business use cases. And then we help you actually by developing proof of concept agents here in AI workers. And then we have the just straight up AI worker creation. And this is why I also brought in Vlad, is because Vlad is the perfect person to do this for, is that he has already done this before and he does it day in, day out. So we can come in and actually create these bespoke new agents for you. Then we have on-site training where you can bring us in and actually teach you all about agentic AI. What are the different frameworks you should be thinking of? And then, of course, creating your own AI workers at the end. So that's kind of our major offerings that we offer to people. But of course, I want to make sure before we dive in to Vlad here is to bring up the fact of this is not just about lead enrichment. All of these different verticals have a plethora, more or less endless ideas of what could be an AI worker. Obviously, there's way too much to read here, but I just want to get across the idea that it can be a bunch of different things. Whatever you're thinking of, for the most part, an AI worker can be built around it. But that's it for me. Let's now get over to Vlad, where Vlad is going to take us through and walk us through how he actually built this AI lead enrichment agent. And we're going to kind of talk through and see all things about how he actually did that. So Vlad, thank you for coming today. I really appreciate your time and especially for setting up this agent. So I'd love to start going through it as much as possible.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Austin, first of all. And yeah, why not? Let's just dive in and see what we have. As I've mentioned last time as well, for who was with us last time too, it usually starts from inputs, flow, and output. So in this situation, I started with like very basic input. So, I just have like a first name, a last name, and an email. But this, could be also translated into a CSV file where you have like bunch of, first names, last names, and emails that you can start from. But I was thinking like for the purpose of this live stream to actually keep it simple so everybody can, simply wrap their head around it. Then what I'm doing is like, once I have the first name, last name, and email, I'm actually using GPT-4 node, which is helping me to formulate like a Google search. And as you can see, this is what I have in my user prompt. And then in the system prompt, I'm actually giving instructions. You will be given a user's email and name. Your task is to create a Google search for LinkedIn sites so that we can find this person's profile. You need to extract the person's name and guess what his company might be. If an email is from one of the free providers, such as Gmail, do not put any company. As an example, I input Austin Braham. I used yours, austin@integral.ai. And the output should be Austin Braham Integral. And then the same with John Smith, just for the sake of, also showcasing like what happens with the free providers.
Okay.
What happens next, once we have this Google search, we're going to the Google search node and we're putting in the Google search query, like the output from the, Google search node, together with site that we want to target, which is LinkedIn in this situation. From there, we go in two different directions. So first of all, we have the profile name extractor, which basically, as a system prompt, is getting the LinkedIn URL in the format that is presented here. And then from there, it actually has to extract the profile name as in the example. It's very straightforward. It responds only with the profile name.
Okay.
And then the second one is actually going directly to the data enrichment. And we're going to get there later on. Let's first just go through the whole flow in this part. So once we actually extract the profile name, and by the way, please stop me if you have any questions or
Well,
anything.
actually, I do have a question.
Yeah.
As soon as you open that up, I'm like, wait, I noticed here with the model that you, that for here, it says like GPT 3.5.
Yes.
Which of course is like a super, super old model here.
What? Right.
If we open that up, what model do you think that what model do you like the most that you've seen?
Honestly, what I like using lately a lot is the GPT-4o Mini. Simple. Okay. It has enough tokens. It works also pretty fast, and it's able to actually do the job that I'm requesting most of the time. And in case I'm not using the GPT-4 Mini, then I'm also using a lot the Claude 3.7 Sonnet.
Okay.
I think this model is it's a very logical one, and it's also like helping a lot with let's not call it like coding tasks, but it's able to actually read through these kind of things much better than GPT.
Can you
experience so far?
Can like for example, just so we can show everyone, can you click on Claude 3.7?
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that I love to point out, and especially this goes back to what I was talking about earlier with cost savings, is you can notice. So like here, like first off, you see the size of the context window, very important. But then you also see input and output price. So you can pretty much choose different models depending on what's your budget. Do you want the best? Like, I mean, to a lot of people, Claude 3.7 Sonnet is like still the best. Do you want it to have something that has like you're going to put in a book, basically? Maybe Google Gemini, 2.0 or 2.5 is going to be better. I find that super important is that you can pretty much customize these however you want. So I think that's a super interesting point, kind of that you can choose depending on what the node is actually doing.
And on top of that, for the audience, just to know, and maybe we can show it at in another live stream, we also have the benchmark tool, which it's actually helping you a lot to decide like which model works best for a specific use case. But we can dive into that into another call, because I think it would be interesting.
Or they can go back and watch our last live stream, because you did an amazing job trying to show us there.
That's right. So the reason why I'm using GPT 3.5 for this is because it's like a super basic thing that doesn't really require like a lot of knowledge or a lot of training or anything like that. But for the sake, like since we talked about it, I'm just gonna switch to GPT for a minute.
Sure.
And what I'm doing next, I'm actually using an API node, which is actually using the Rapid API, which is actually extracting data from LinkedIn. And as you can see, like this is the type of data that it's actually able to return. So it returns a username, a first name, last name, profile picture, background, languages, projects, like everything almost. But you'll see that later on when we're gonna run it, and you'll see like the results.
So
and then,
real quick, Vlad, on so like how we talked about, you can grab any API from pretty much anywhere. You mentioned the idea of being able, so you got this from Rapid API, one of these websites. But it can theoretically be any, like you could go even to like, if a company has API documentation and stuff like that.
We can even talk about like Microsoft APIs, Google APIs, like anything that we use, like even for our YouTube transcript summarizer, right? Yeah. We also use like the Google API that it's in strong relation with YouTube, I think, or something like that. Or so it's a API that's actually made by Google. So
theoretically, we could even start off this agent rather than giving it just the first name, last name, or whatever. You could have like HubSpot or like whatever your CRM is giving that data.
Absolutely. Any type of integration, anything that has a RESTful API, we can integrate with.
Perfect. Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. So what happens next? We're using a serialized JSON node, which is basically outputting the whole list in a really readable format that is then taken into another LLM, which is again using GPT 3.5, and it's just doing like a LinkedIn summarizer. And the system prompt, it says that its goal is to take the person's name, company name, current job title, country, LinkedIn URL, and provide it in the table format from this JSON. And also from this JSON, we're going again to the data enrichment node that I also spoke about earlier. So what happens in this data enrichment node, it's actually taking like the Google URLs. So for example, what it says is that it's going to be given a markdown of a web page. It is a LinkedIn profile of a person, summarizes person, who they are, name, experience, and other interesting details. And the goal is to take the person's current job title, country, LinkedIn URL, result of the update to be successful or failed, to know if that actually went through or not. And then the response should look like this. But this also combine, data coming from the LinkedIn profile and also from the Google search. So actually, this is the node that it's enriching data.
Okay.
And then we have a final node, which is basically in the user prompt is taking the original data, original email, first name, last name, what it found on LinkedIn, and the enriched data.
Okay.
And what it does with it is like your goal is to take provided data and create one JSON format table to show original data and enriched data. Respond only with a JSON.
I see.
And
So
then that's it pretty much.
So the idea that and this kind of goes back to, once again, like what I was saying earlier, is like, let's say you created this, Vlad literally straight up just created this agent, and I was like, hey, I want you to come on the live stream and talk about this. And then he has a very specific way that he likes to build agents and adding system prompts. Let's say, for example, anyone that's watching here, that you're like, okay, this is close, but not exactly what I wanted and what I need. All you have to do is you can pretty much tailor this however you'd like. Add the system prompt a different way, maybe have different pieces of data that you want to put in here, whatever you need, you can pretty much customize this for.
The secret is to be as specific as possible, like to think of the smallest details if you can, because in that way the system prompt will actually help the LLM understand exactly what you want from it, and it won't like do whatever it thinks it's right. And this actually can lead to another conversation about rag memory and hallucinations and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like you can even instruct in the system prompt, do not add data that you're not aware of, or do not add any made up data, or you just need to be specific about the stuff that you want from it.
Yep. And that goes down to I talk to people about this all the time, and Vlad works with clients all like day in and day out. I'm sure you talked to them about this too, is like the idea of maybe these agents and these workers are not going to be perfect first iteration. Like you'll run it and you realize, okay, that didn't do exactly what I wanted to do. So you have to change the system prompt a little bit here and there.
It all depends on how good you can define actually the flow and the output. Like how can you be able to actually nail it down from the first try? It's almost impossible, right? So it needs adjustment. But luckily enough, like these kind of adjustments are done only through system prompts. You don't have to hard code anything. You just need to use like normal English language, right? And giving it instructions. And to some extent, I know that you can even use other languages, because the LLM will know how to actually respond to that. So it's pretty cool, and it's actually saving a lot of time, and it makes everything like way faster.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you go ahead and show us how to run this?
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. Like, what do you think? Should we run it? So I just used my own personal data. So first name Vlad, last name Garau, and then the email vlad.garau@yahoo.com. And if I press run, you will see exactly how it runs through each node. The first one took like 38.38 seconds, 138 Google query. Let's see what's the result here. And as you can see, like actually this is my profile on LinkedIn, and benchmark tool. Okay, it's just taking some stuff from LinkedIn actually right now.
Yeah.
Then this one actually extracted the right ID. And in here, we said that I'm just gonna show this but maybe not this because it's a lot of information. But in here, we got exactly what we wanted from the LinkedIn page.
Mhm.
And enrich data, let's just see. It was a success. So I'm a sales engineer. The country is still set to Denmark since I used to live there. I forgot to change it. I'll probably do that after this call because it keeps popping up. And then in the combined data, we should have everything. So we
Okay.
have email data, the found on LinkedIn data, and the enriched data.
Okay, gotcha. So this is like this also comes down to the idea of like the way that you're viewing the outputs, especially when you're just clicking on the node, is super helpful for debugging. Like let's say one of these things came out wrong, and it was like it wasn't right. You can figure out exactly what step did that happen, so you can change things and add things or edit
Absolutely.
things. So that's one way to view these outputs, but there are other ways too.
Yeah, also in the chat interface, like once you run it, right now you're able to actually see each node going through, and it's changing its color from gray to blue to green or yellow or red, depending on the case. But it's very intuitive, and people can figure it out quite fast.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so this goes to the idea also. Thank you, Vlad. Is the idea that we can actually kind of customize this? Like, let's say your CRM that someone's trying to do lead enrichment on, or like, put the information into, takes a specific type of content in a specific type of way. You can change it. So like, we've asked for in tabular format to put it in a table, into a JSON format. There, you can ask for it to pretty much be anything because these LLMs will understand all of this basically, so that it can customize it to be exactly whatever you're looking for. So awesome. This was great, Vlad. I think now what we can do is we can kind of come down to asking some kind of question, or like open some time for some questions, and we can help some people out here.
Sure, sounds good.
So now this kind of goes to the idea of let me go ahead and look if we have any questions right here. I don't see any as of right now. If you have any questions, if whoever is here, please feel free to drop those in for any questions that we would have for while we have Vlad. But then in the meantime, what I want to kind of talk about is I just put out this new video called The 7 Principles of an AI First Company. And this video will help you through all the different steps and principles that is needed for you to pretty much start implementing what Vlad and I have been talking about today on the best ways for you to actually start using this for the most part. So we see here for a question from Dima. How to create a new node? Oh yes, I don't understand how to connect it to the CRM, LinkedIn, all the above. Can you just go ahead and show how to create a new node?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find like a curl that we can use for the purpose of this. I think Microsoft GraphQL.
I mean, I will also say, because I know this could take a little bit longer, is that we are going to do a complete live stream on how to actually create something with the universal connector node. So for the sake of today, you have to, of course, find the API. So what might just be better to show everyone, Vlad, is just how to create a new node in the first place, and where.
Yeah, but I do have something here from GraphQL, like how to send an email.
Okay.
So if you press the node designer and you go to generate integration, most of the companies or the websites that have RESTful API, they also offer documentation on that. So if you simply go in and paste the curl command or the post request in my situation, and you press go, you will see that it will open up the whole API call, and then you'll just have to put in your API key.
Yeah. So what I would suggest, Dima, is to especially if you have a specific CRM or any of these systems that you're interested in, you can see how like this, it just fills it out for you. Like type in HubSpot API documentation, LinkedIn API documentation, whatever, etc. Copy the curl and then put it in there.
Yeah, and then most of the times it would require here like another header, which is authorization, and then you just have to paste in your API key.
Yes, which of course I will say we're not going to do that so that no one can see what our API key is. Don't share API keys and authorizations, kids. But so that's exactly how you would theoretically start, Dima, is grab the curl, grab any part of the coding kind of on the documentation, and you can literally just plug it into the generate integration.
Also, maybe worth mentioning, so once you do this, you can simply press the create button, and then you're going to have the node here. But another thing that you can do, you can also press, as it is here, right? You can press get data so you can see exactly the output. And then you can actually expand it and connect it to the other nodes if you want to, instead of having like the whole thing as an object.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Yeah. You're welcome, Dima. And then Vlad, would you mind showing us like some of the different nodes you can like pre-built nodes? So this is how on the left-hand side, that plus button at the top left, these are all of our pre-built nodes that you can add in, LLMs, read CSV.
We have a new cool node, which is like the code executor node, which are actually able to put in like JavaScript code, and it will know exactly how to behave and how to follow the code. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That would be one thing. Then we have the for each nodes, which actually help you. Like, for example, if you have a list that you want to go through, so let's just put it, if we would have a CSV list, right? We would want to go through each of the people like one by one, right? So how would you do that? We would use like a for each node, which then has a for each return, which basically it will take each person, go through the whole flow, and then return. And then you're going to get the final result. Another cool node that we have is the PDF to images. So, sometimes when you actually get the PDF doesn't really have like text that you can copy, right? Because it's more like an image rather than a PDF, but it's saved with the extension of a PDF. Yep. So what you can do, you can actually use PDF to images and translate that, and then you can use a for each node to actually gather all the data from that PDF. So this is also like super useful depending on what you're working with. What else? Well, read CSV. I think it speaks for itself. Like, I don't need to get into that. And then you have my agent node. So what you can do with this one, you can actually call other agents into another agent. So let's say that you have to create like an actual AI worker, right? Like that AI worker might actually have sub agents that do sub tasks, right? So in order to put it together, you would actually call your sub agents in there through this node. And then of course, like the classic vector memory search, which helps agents to not to hallucinate. And then of course, like it depends. Like, for example, let's say that you want to have a chatbot for a company that has like a lot of data, right? I don't know, thousands of documents, of PDFs that they have, stored as guidelines and whatnot. Well, with this node, you can actually search through all that data within seconds, together with an LLM. And then you have another one, which is the vector memory save. You can also save stuff to the RAG memory. But the list can go on and on and on and on. I'll just talk about the color node, and that's it, because this is like super useful. It helps you to actually route to different branches. So for example, if you have two different branches and you want to use it like an if statement, but you don't really have an if statement, right? So you have the color node, which actually is using an LLM model, which actually can help you to decide which is the right branch to follow. But of course, based on specific conditions that you're offering to it. But I think it's super cool, that node, actually. I'm using it quite often.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's something that I'm sure we'll go over in the future, because the functionality of that node alone is like mind blowing. And for anyone that's interested, like we've said before, Vlad also went over the vector memory in the last live stream that we had. So if you want to see the vector memory in action, check out the last live stream. You can find it on our YouTube channel or our LinkedIn as well. But yeah, great question, Dima. Vlad, thank you so much for kind of walking us through all that. And now, kind of last thing before I'll let you go, Vlad, I know you're super busy, is a few different resources for everybody. So we have our AI University, which is on our websites, which you can find, the reciprocating QR code here to go to all these places, where you can actually, we have some videos on how to walk through, how to build an agent, all these different kind of articles for everybody, as well as I will kind of give the idea here that we are revamping the AI University too. So stay tuned for that. We have our LinkedIn and Discord, which the LinkedIn is, as everyone knows, it's kind of the channel that we post the most to, or most active on. You can find me there, you can find Vlad there, but as well as the Discord channel, where we have a community of builders. If you're a builder and you want more information, we have more information in our Discord, which you can find the QR code for our LinkedIn right there. We have these live streams, which are very important, where we'll continuously do this and we'll continuously learn from Vlad and from other experts pretty much on our team. And then lastly, we have our YouTube channel, where I am putting out YouTube videos on demos, on thought leadership, on interviews, kind of all the above, these live streams even. So find that QR code, subscribe there, go follow us on LinkedIn, go try University, and make sure to stay tuned for these live streams in the first place. But basically, last thing is I want to thank you for everyone that's for coming. If you want to try out any of this that we've shown you today, is you can register for a free account at integrail.ai to actually maybe like have this video up on another screen, and then you can pretty much see what Vlad did and start building it for yourself to try this out. Or of course, you can book a demo with us and we can come in and do the hard work for you, or teach you how to do it yourself as well. So that's kind of all I have for everyone today. I really appreciate your time, Vlad. I know how busy you are, so thank you so much. And thank you for everyone that's watching right now. Stay tuned for later live streams, which we'll post about. And we'll see you all later. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
See you, everybody.